You're listening to Track Talk with the RacinBoys, brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet in Olathe, or visit them online at McCarthyChevyKC.com.
Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, RacinBoys Radio. Scott, Kirk, and joining us now is a friend of the RacinBoys and a good guy. And the president, oh, by the way, of Kansas Speedway, Pat Warren. How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing great. How are you guys this morning?
Well, we're doing just lovely. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood over here in lovely Independence. But, man, I tell you what, we were just talking about it in the open here just a few minutes ago, Pat. We're just really getting close to the first date of the year at Kansas Speedway, May 21st, 22nd. Cannot wait.
Yeah, a little over, 3 weeks and a couple hours from right now, we're going to have the trucks on track with the green flag for the SFP 250, and 22 days away, we're going to have the STP 400.
This beautiful spring weather really has to have you excited about the lead-in to the April event this year.
It does. We were nervous last year when we got the schedule as a result of the repave, and obviously everybody knows this year our schedule is different because of that. Anybody who lives in the Midwest knows, right now it's supposed to be something in the 80s today, 88 tomorrow. We could have been in the 40s.
Right,
but it certainly looks right now like we're going to have fantastic weather, and people are excited about it.
That also helps when you're trying to do your capital improvements and you're doing, you've got a lot of construction going on out there with the Hollywood Casino and the surrounding portions of the casino. This mild winter has really had to help in that department, hasn't it?
It did. I mean, the casino was basically enclosed and done last fall, and they were doing work on the exterior, and obviously you need some good weather for that. Everything for the casino is done now. They're really in the final sort of punch list stages. What we're getting ready for now is to mobilize to first demolish our existing oval track and then rebuild it with the new variable banking. And then we'll also, of course, be building a road course. So we have a huge, huge construction project that we're looking at for the summer, but we think it's going to create a fantastic speedway as a product.
What is the biggest challenge for you, Pat, as the president of the Kansas Speedway, getting ready to tear the track up and going through that whole process? You're on a schedule. You can't be late. You've got to get it done. What is the biggest challenge on getting all this preparation ready to tear up the track and put down the new surface?
We've got a great design and development team that's based out of Daytona that did Phoenix and Michigan, and they did Daytona International Speedway. And so they really, I don't want to say we have this down to a science, but the things we can control, we do control, and we're very good at. Actually, the company that's doing the patch where the jet fuel washed on Daytona International Speedway at the entrance to 3 Lane Construction is the same company doing our project. And so we had to schedule the work in Daytona to get done before our project begins, because we will literally begin immediately following the race. You take every day of good weather you've got and every minute. And ironically, even though this wasn't planned this wasn't the plan when we did it, we'll use the lights if we have to take advantage of good weather if there's any risk on the schedule.
Wow. How about that right there? Now, I remember when you originally built the track, the asphalt plant was on property. Is that going to be the case again when you redo the surface?
Yeah, most of the asphalt that goes back down, or in terms of the material, the quantity of the material will be recycled. So you'll actually mill up the existing surface, recycle it, and put it back down. And you've got to change the compound and do some things, to basically revitalize it. But most of that, you can melt out a lot of the materials and put it back in. And then we will have an asphalt plant on the property to sort of do that recycling operation, so to speak. But we won't have to bring in nearly as much material. Most of the material we have to bring in will be for the road course.
Pat, how different is the track going to be? They've got the progressive banking, but what is the difference in the configuration? Can you describe that a little bit from the current track?
The easiest way to understand it is right now we've got 15-degree, I'll call it static banking in our corners, and then we're about 7 degrees on the backstretch and 4 to 5 degrees. I'm sorry, 7 degrees on the front stretch and 4 to 5 degrees on the backstretch. With this project, we're going to be going basically from 17.5 to 20 degrees. So the very beginning, the lowest line, so to speak, on the track will be 2.5 degrees steeper. And if you think about 2.5 degrees from 15, that's a pretty significant change. And then the top of the track, right up next to the wall, will be at just about 20 degrees. And so, you're looking at a situation where that's now 25% steeper than it is right now.
Wow. Pat, I've got to ask this question. I think I know the answer, but we want the listeners to hear it from the president of the Speedway. Why make the change? I mean, me personally, I've been a big fan of the current configuration. We run up at the top, we run at the bottom, but I understand we have a lot of harsh winters here, and I think that's probably the key to everything. But tell the listeners out there the number one concern, maybe the top two concerns on why changing the pavement now after just 10 years of running.
Well, we're entering our 12th year. And, if you just look around, I'm sitting at Midland Drive right now. I'm actually headed out to the Speedway, and I'm looking around at all the seams in the asphalt here. And if you think about asphalt in Kansas City and how often you get potholes and cracks and other things, we have some of the harshest winters in the country because of the temperature fluctuations. We'll be at, the asphalt might be at 10 below one day and 50 or 60 degrees with heat gain the next day, or even in the same day in some cases. We'll have situations at the racetrack where turns 1 and 2, which sit in the shade during the winter, will literally have snow or ice on them, and turns 3 and 4, when you put a thermometer on them, are at 80 degrees. And so the freeze-thaw that occurs in the expansion and contraction creates cracks. Water gets into the cracks then expand as it freezes and thaws, and it creates an unsafe racing surface. We have to then cover that with that material that Kirk Busch has called the tar of death. The actual term for it is Craftco. But it's the seams. They're talking about them this weekend in Martinsville, the seams that they've got. And those seams are designed to keep water from coming up and also to keep tires from getting cracked. What it really boils down to is that we've got a situation where we believe if we don't fix the track now, we're at risk of what I'll call a catastrophic failure, where we literally might have a situation where there would be so much damage to the track so close to a race that we wouldn't be able to run a race or a race weekend. And that's just not a risk we can take. It doesn't make any sense. And there are safety issues associated with that, too.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we looked at the situation and we said, well, if we've got to repave the track, what's the way to do it to put us in the right situation going forward? And it was our feeling that going back, changing the configuration of the track, taking it to something like a Miami Homestead model, it's not going to be identical, but, it's the same concept. We think we'll have better racing from day one, and we'll have better racing long term.
Will you have the seams? Will there be seams similar to what we have out there, but just smaller, or is there a new design or a new way to lay down the asphalt to where those seams will not be there?
There is a new way to lay down the asphalt that is supposed to keep the seams from reappearing. Having said that, I don't know that they have done what they're going to do here in the Midwest in our environment. So, I'll tell you, I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to avoid it. We will never be able to avoid some of that dark black material, that Craftco, on our track, I don't believe, because I don't think you can make an asphalt compound that doesn't, expand and contract enough that you get some small cracks in it.
No, I agree.
And the risk, just to be clear, is that water comes up from underneath. There's a place near my house that in the middle of summer, we might not have had rains for weeks. There's water coming out of the ground.
Unbelievable.
We've got those situations at the track, and it's just, it's the earth is made to do that, and water finds a way.
Well, with the progressive banking that we've seen at other facilities and the asphalt that's being used, I have no doubt that the racing will be great right out of the gate on the new track coming up this fall. What about the road course, Pat? What's the configuration of that like, and exactly what all are you going to do as far as renovating the infield?
Well, the road course itself is really the only major project we're doing on the infield. It does have some impact on our infield camping, but we're not doing any other major renovations on the infield other than building a road course, which is a major project, but not necessarily a renovation. It's actually new construction. It'll be about a 1 mile course inside the infield. It'll be about a 2 mile course when you run it like they run Daytona for the Rolex, where you run the oval and then you run the road course. It enters off of one, it runs through the backstretch, and then comes back around and re-enters the oval, basically at the exit of turn 2. And so part of the design is for people to be able to be at the casino or have grandstands or small, viewing areas up at the casino to be able to look down and really see a lot of the great road course action on the track. And then you can also, of course, see the oval from the casino, so you can see everything, and it's a great experience. And a lot of people for Grand Am racing, which is really what we're building it for, like to watch the race from the infield. We'll have it open for car clubs. We'll have it open for SCCA. We anticipate hosting some of those events. We're actually building it in such a way that we'll have a small asphalt go-kart track.
Oh, wow.
And so, that'll be down. Basically, the best way to describe it is sort of it ends where you enter turn 3, but inside the infield. And it's tough for me to tell you how far back on the backstretch it goes. If you sort of think about going north to south at our track. But I want to say it's about a quarter of a mile, or maybe a little bit smaller go-kart track.
You probably got the go-kart fans a little excited about that.
Well, I hope so. We're excited about it, and it's we've got so much energy in our area between the opening of the casino, which has been doing great in the time since it's opened in early February, the excitement that people have about Livestrong Park, the Legends in general, and now the reconfiguration we're doing and having 2 races every year. And I'm hopeful that I'm really hopeful next year we're going to have a night race.
All right. That's what I don't need to ask that question because that was going to be one of them. So you answered it right there. Hopefully next year. Hey, I tell you what I'm excited about. Kenny Wayne Shepherd is going to be the entertainment for the STP 400. I'm a huge blues fan, and Kenny Wayne Shepherd is about as good as they get.
He really is. And, he's sort of a blues rock,
a
little bit like an Eric Clapton kind of artist. He doesn't have obviously the broad following that a guitarist like or an artist like Eric Clapton has. Mm-hmm. But we feel really good. We've gotten great reviews on the live show. I think he was actually in town this week at the Midland, and I didn't get a chance to go. But everyone who's been to his live show says it's phenomenal. Typically we try to do sort of a classic rock or country rock kind of band, and it's frankly with the April time frame, the artists that were available were different, and he was the best fit for us.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, he will rock the house. I promise you. He kind of filled the void when Stevie Ray Vaughan was gone, even though he'd been gone for some time when Kenny Wayne Shepherd came around. But I think a lot of people recognized his style as similar to what Stevie Ray Vaughan played. And as an older dude like myself, the big fan of Stevie Ray.
You're not an old dude.
Well, kind of an old dude. Just maybe a little bit of an old dude, but still.
You're not old.
Okay. Well, Pat, before we let you go, fill everybody in where they can get their tickets. I'm sure we still have some tickets available, but as we talked about yesterday on Between the Lines with Kevin Kiesman, ticket sales are a little better here than they are at some parts of the country, and I think that's because of the great job that you guys do out there at Kansas Speedway. But tickets still available? How would they get a hold of them?
Yeah, tickets are available. Actually, our ticket office is open today if people want to go by. I think it's open from 10 to 2. And so you can go walk right up to the ticket window at our main offices and pick out your seats. Or you can call 866-460-RACE, or you can go online to kansasspeedway.com and just sort of walk through the process in an online purchase. The races are April 21st and 22nd. We have some of the best truck racing in the country.
Oh man!
We're going to have a phenomenal STP 400. We're really excited about it. Those are the last 2 races on our original surface, and so I think it's something people really don't want to miss.
No
hey,
doubt.
Your thoughts about celebrating 40 years with the Petties and STP? That's going to be a big weekend for the Petties out there, isn't it?
It is. It's really going to be neat. I think we're bringing in some of the vintage cars like we did a year ago for the STP 400. Which I thought was really well received, and especially for a track like ours that's, we're 12 years old, having a partner like STP and the heritage of the Petties, and of course we got the Richard Petty driving experience out all weekend. They're running tonight under the lights, which will be, if anybody, they may be sold out, so I may be speaking out of turn, but a phenomenal experience for anybody that wants to go out there and do a ride along. But the ability to connect with the Petty family, the King, the Victory Junction camp, and the work that they're doing in North Carolina, is tremendously exciting for us, and it means so much for a speedway that's still trying to build its tradition and its roots.
How's the camp? How's the camp coming? By the way, quickly.
The Kansas City camp?
Yes.
They're still in the developmental stages on working. I think they're trying to nail down a site still. They had some issues with their first site,
right?
And I think they're doing some reorganization from a management perspective. But I'm pretty confident that they'll get things together. We'll probably hear more this fall.
The Hollywood Casino's been open for a couple of months. How's everything working with that right now?
Well, that's obviously Jeff's sort of, I'll call it his day job, but we both stay close to it. And everything I hear is that it's doing phenomenally well.
Great.
You always, any casino, any business usually of that nature, when it opens, does more business than it will do when it reaches what you call a steady state. And so, but even those numbers have been higher than we anticipated. So we're really excited, and we hope that when things level off, so to speak, that they level off at a commensurately higher level like they've been doing early on.
Yeah. All right, Pat. Thanks for taking the time to join us this morning on Track Talk. We can't wait to get out there April 21st, 22nd. Looking forward to it. We'll see you then, my friend.
All right. See you in a few weeks, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, that's Pat Warren. Again, you can check out, if you need more information about Kansas Speedway, go to kansasspeedway.com. You can find out about tickets, scheduling, everything that's going on, again, at Kansas Speedway by going to kansasspeedway.com.